Hi, it's Andy.
Hi, it's Dave,
Hi, it's Kirk.
and we're back. We're doing another album review. We are checking out the band, The Walls of Avalon, and is it Yagodin? Is that how it's pronounced?
So I interviewed James Marinos from this band 2 days ago, and I believe it is pronounced Egotiton. Try and say
He
that.
got it. Well, that's the last time we're going to say that. We'll just call it the album by
Yeah,
The Walls of Avalon.
Gododin. We'll just call it Gododin. We'll angle
Right, so this was your pick for album review, Kirk. So you get to go last on the feedback. Andy, do you want us to kick us off, and I'll follow?
Yeah. Not quite as available as the other albums we've reviewed recently. It's sort of just on the band's Bandcamp page. So I listened to it when I was out and about a few days ago. Listened to this again this very evening before the review, and it's another one that needs some repeated listening. But I really enjoyed it the second time round. There's so much going on. There's every song, every passage of every song. There's something new to listen out for. There's such a range of instruments, such a range of sort of musical styles. They've got best guest vocalists. The main vocalist, I think, is probably varying his output and delivery throughout each of the songs. It's a really, really interesting album. It's hard for me to categorize it and put it into a genre. I mean, I'm sure Kirk will fill in the blanks, but there's black metal in there. There's folk metal. There's violin passages which I think you both know I really like. In Dead Man's Cloaks and the closing track, the violins reminded me, the sound that was being portrayed of a Norwegian gothic metal band that I'm a big fan of, the Sins of Thy Beloved, their 1998 Lake of Sorrow album. The violins could be taken straight out of there. But yeah, really, really interesting and enjoyable album. It's one that you need to not just have it on the background when you're driving your van or in your car. You need to sort of settle down like I did this evening, with your notepad if you're doing a review, and just take it all in, because there's so much going on. Our friend and local musician and guitarist from Ritual, Mike Lewin, he does a couple of solos in Knowing the Man as I Do, and his sort of videos he does at home for his sort of guitar playthroughs and the work he does in Ritual. You can tell it's Mike. But yeah, really, really good album, and I'll endeavour to try and get hold of a copy that's more accessible. I don't fork out money to play on Bandcamp, because you can't sort of play it offline on my phone. But I'll see. I'll be following this one up, because it's a really, really good album. I'll recommend people check it out.
I guess we already know what your score is at the end, then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just giving away there a spoiler.
Yeah.
Okay, let me take over for them from my point of view. Having listened to this one pretty much straight after the Candlemass album, my first note was, it felt very theatrical. It felt like it wasn't just a case of a song that you put on in the background. It felt like there was storytelling constantly going on. It felt like it was trying to pull you into whatever it wants to drag you into. So it's I was listening to it whilst working, and I felt myself constantly getting distracted what I was doing, because it felt like having it on as a background whilst trying to do something didn't work. I felt that my brain was trying to pay attention to the music and break it down. And you can only do that if you're giving it its full attention, or you're immersing yourself in it. You can't do it whilst multitasking somewhere else and enjoy it. Your brain just didn't want to do it. So I get what you're saying. You can't just put it on and drive around. It doesn't feel like that's the sort of thing it's for. It felt like it's something you're meant to immerse yourself in. Yeah. Men of Godin, really liked that one. I thought it was a great driving riff. I loved the energy in that particular track. I wrote a quick note about the Shining Company. It kind of was a bit of a departure for me of where the track had started. Reminded me a little bit of like Sisters of Mercy, real kind of 80s, like Temple of Love, that sort of era. I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting that kind of vibe off of it. Real interesting elements of the clean folk styles as well coming in, which I really enjoyed. I thought that was cool. And I put a tick mark next. Is this how it's meant to be? means I probably liked it as my favorite track. Couldn't tell you why, but I put a tick next to it. So I must have enjoyed that track for some reason. And that's what I've got on the album. Kirk, go on then. Take us home.
Yeah, so our viewers can enjoy an interview with James Marinos, who's the main composer in this band. So the lyrics are from Metatron, who most people, if you follow black metal in the UK, this guy is a legend of black metal because of his band, The Meads of Asphodel. And they've produced some of the strangest black metal of the last 20 years you'll ever hear. So he has taken the medieval poem by the Welsh scholar Aneurin, called Ygotytyn, and that actually was, there's some debate as to whether this actually is something that's possibly the oldest Welsh poem in existence, whether it was written and recorded in the 9th century or later on, as late as the 12th century. And it depicts a battle of the Bretons, or the Brythonic Celtic races, against the invading Germanic warriors from as we know, as the Angles, hence the name England comes from that. So I'm sure all three of us really are on the side, are descendants of the Germanic settlers, aren't we, in the 5th century AD that conquer the British Isles and create the country of England. So he's adapted his lyrics from that. And what I really enjoyed, he's giving us the other side of war. This isn't just the martial spirit of chivalry and raise your swords and let's all have a gallop and listen to this triumphant heavy metal. He's describing the darker side of that. And I said in my review for Scream Blast Repeat, if you read any of those oral testimonies, recorded testimonies, observers at the Battle of Hastings in 1066, both sides, before they go into it, are vomiting because they know they're going to suffer a violent death. And very rarely does that ever get captured by historians. And this is what Metatron's trying to capture here. Musically, fuck me, this is all over the place, isn't it? Epic pagan metal, I think, is what Marinos describes it as. Do you know what really shocked me? Track number 2, which is a clear standout, Men of Gododin. There's a Mike Patton chorus in there. It just comes from nowhere, like from the Angel Dust era. So it's just so epic. There's no other word to describe it. Great phonation. It's actually Marinos doing the vocals on there, and it's Metatron who has that grisly voice, isn't it? That's why it actually reminds me of this album, the Faith No More comeback album of 2015, Sol Invictus. I'll tell you why, because the riffs, to me, sound like Metallica in the Load and Reload era. And I think Lewin, our friend Mike Lewin's playing a lot of those, isn't he? They've got a sludgier element to them as well. I really love the effulgence of the folk passages, the violin. And then that last song is absolutely superb, isn't it? Is this what it's meant to be? The vocals remind me of Simon and Garfunkel, so rich how he's layered them. There's dual harmonies going on there, aren't there? And it's so clear. The perspicacity of his accent when he's singing those lyrics, it helps, because like you said, Dave, storytelling, isn't it? You can't just put this music on in the background. It's too intriguing. You'll have to stop what you're doing just to give it a listen. So sit down with it, buy the vinyl, and follow the lyrics, which are an adaptation of this Welsh poem. Fantastic. Big concern though with this record, and I do know why. It's not long enough. It's very rare you'll hear me criticize an album and say, I need more. To me, it feels like I'm listening to CD 1 of a double album. And I'm like, okay, where's CD 2? And it's not there. It only comes in at 29 minutes.
Yeah, so is this an album or an EP? Because I thought this was probably an EP then.
It's an album. It's been promoted as an album. It's too epic to be an EP, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it just needs 2 more songs to really solidify itself in what would be my album of the year polls. The reason it doesn't make it is they're a victim of their own success. I want more songs. I really enjoy the unpredictability of this. I love the storytelling elements. I love the epic heavy metal, but also, I do like those. There's even like alternative metal type trappings in there, aren't there, as well? I don't know where that's come from. I don't think there's that much black metal in. Some people might be disappointed with that because of Metatron's work with the Meads of Asphodel. This rocks out, doesn't it? It rocks out, but it just never fails to surprise you because you just don't know what's coming next.
It's definitely one that you couldn't just do a one-off listen to and then make a judgment. It's it's too much. There's too much variety and too many things happening in it that if you listen to it once, you can dismiss it very quickly. And I have to be honest, that's when I first listened to it. I was like, not for me. There's just too much. I can't. And then I realized I was like, do you know what? I need to sit down and I need to go back to this again and give it a proper listen.
Yeah.
Because I've skipped so much that I've missed because I was trying to do something else at the same time. And my first bit of notes was just very, very like a couple of sentences. And I was like, this isn't being fair to the band. This isn't how to do it. There are certain bands, and there's another band coming up that we're going to talk about in a little bit, which you can get away with doing other things during. But this was definitely one of those ones you have to give it its attention that it's needed. And to be honest, though, was it 5 tracks on the album?
Yeah.
I can give 5 tracks at that period of time to do it and spend that time on it. And that's maybe because it's coming in just, around 30 minutes. I still think it's officially classed as an EP. I don't think you can put an album out and on 5 songs and call it an album. I think there is some rules. Otherwise, you could put out a 30-minute single and call that an album, couldn't you? I'm sure it's a class as an EP if it's under 7 tracks.
Yeah, it is an album.
We need to check that one, but I'm
would
sure there's
class it as
something
an
like
album.
that.
It's the first record for 6 years from the band as
Yeah.
well, so there has been a lot of anticipation. I mean, Andy, can I just ask, just on a side note, what do you like the Meads of Asphodel? Because obviously they're legends of Hertfordshire, aren't they?
I'm sure I've heard an album, but pretty much probably like this. I gave it a listen, maybe didn't give it 100% concentration, had it as in the background and dismissed it, which is what I nearly did with this. I thought, well, I can say, I could come into this. I can't really contribute much to the review because I haven't had a chance to listen to it because of its availability, and I didn't like it on the first one. But I am so glad I had the opportunity to, between our sessions tonight, to sit down and listen to it again, because there's just so much in there, so many layers that's going to, so many aspects that's going to spark your interest and make you want to listen to it again. Just a final point for me that, it's great production, excellent song structure and musicianship. Really good album. Yeah, but you do need to give it your time.
Yeah.
Like we've all said, don't stick it on while you're doing the gardening or washing the car or whatever. You need to sit down, take yourself away, and immerse yourself in this.
Yeah. Once you've done that a couple of times, you can then start to listen to it in background because you've already been part of that journey. But you do need to give that initial thing. But we need to score this. Then we need to use out of our 4: bid it, trade it, stream it, or buy it. So I'll kick this one off as I always do. It's not a buy it for me because it's just not my genre, but I think it is a stream it for me. It is something I would go back to and I would listen to again. It's still not going to be in like my top 100 tracks or albums of the year because it's just not my genre, but it is something that might be, we've talked about guilty pleasures, where you can kind of go off every so often and just put something on a bit different and you want to immerse yourself in. I think this would be one of my ones. So yeah, I would stream this one. Okay, Andy, what's your choice this time?
Definite buy it. I think we just sort of discussed off camera. It's a limited run of vinyls, so I will endeavour to purchase a vinyl and dig out the old record deck and when I do play my few vinyls I do get, that is when you sit down and immerse yourself in a record. You don't do anything else. You put your phone away. You just sit and listen to music, like we all did back in the day. Those times we all miss, where you sit and really enjoyed music, as opposed to having it sort of fill areas of your life and various activities that you may be doing.
Fair enough. Kirk, what are you going to do?
Yeah, it's a stream it for me. 2 reasons. 1, it's not long enough. And 2, they've not released it on CD, which is despicable because I don't buy vinyl. I want it on CD.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be able to buy it in a format that I like anyway. But really, really impressive music. It just needs to be longer for me, and that shows you again how good this band is. Give me more.
So I'm just going to wrap up with one little thing. I actually like the fact that the band are not putting it on streaming platforms. They put 1 track on streaming, if I remember, which is what they've done. Was it the title? Not was it Men of Godin or something like that? It's on the streaming, I think I found, and that's something I actually appreciate. They've taken 1 song off the album, put it on streaming for access. But why have they not done CDs? It makes no sense. If you're going to do that route, you've got to get a physical copy. You can't just do digital download and then do vinyl. Not many people have that record player. It's too costly to go down. You need to do a CD. That's my only criticism of them for doing it. I actually appreciate the fact they're doing that, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to say we're not just going to give our music away for free on streaming platforms. We're actually trying to cover some of the costs, and we want to give you a physical item. But you kind of need to have the item available, guys. You've got to do CDs. Yeah. So it's not too late. Go out and get some CDs pressed and people will buy them, I'm sure. Especially if you're not going to stream it. It's kind of a bit of an obvious answer. But there we go.
Yeah.
Walls of Avalon. Now, if you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. And we will, of course, see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.